We'll pick up right there. You just mentioned Vladimir Putin acknowledging his troops are inside Ukraine as Crimea broke off. Let's talk about that and more with Juliana Goldman of Bloomberg News, Nia Malika Henderson of the Washington Post. Let's start with the president and his options. Juliana, you're about to travel next week with the vice president who's going to Ukraine. That's part of the administration showing its support for the new government. But Vladimir Putin at the moment doesn't appear to be listening. The president yesterday had an interview with CBS News, its White House correspondent Major Garrett. Listen to here as the president is voicing again his hope that diplomacy ultimately will work.
Each time Russia takes these kinds of steps that are designed to destabilize Ukraine and violate their sovereignty, that there are going to be consequences.
Is he mocking you and the U.S. military?
They're not interested in any kind of military confrontation with us, understanding that our conventional forces are significantly superior to the Russians. We don't need a war.
The end of that sentence is quite interesting. The president saying we don't need a war. I hope sanctions work. But then working in the he understands our forces are far more superior than his. We have a war of words and a test of wills between the two leaders. Is there any confidence at the White House that the current approach, sanctions only and relatively modest sanctions, will work?
Well, look, I mean, he said there was that shot at Vladimir Putin. It echoes what he said a few weeks ago when he said, look, the U.S. is a superpower. Russia is a regional power. So you're right. It is a war of words. What the White House says now that they're focused on, they have a package of sanctions that they're ready to impose on Russia, again, that target Putin's cronies and the entities that they're affiliated with. They're also holding out the possibility of sectoral sanctions, meaning targeting their banking sector, their oil and gas sector, so really hitting Russia's economy, which they're saying the threat of just having those sanctions has already caused the ruble, Russia's currency, to fall to lows, the stock market to drop. And so what they're focusing now is political and real economic isolation of Russia.
And the question is, does that impact Putin? Does he feel that heat? Does he think at home, where he now thinks he's being helped by this, does he think it's starting to hurt him? Nia Malika, you heard Major Garrett ask the question, is he mocking you?
Right.
And the president didn't answer it directly. This morning, overnight, Vladimir Putin had a lengthy television appearance in Russia answering questions. Among the questions came, watch this, we can show it on our screen, from Edward Snowden, who the President of the United States believes should be returned to the United States, should stand trial, and should spend a long time, perhaps the rest of his life, in prison. Is allowing that to happen, that's not an accident, allowing that to happen, is Vladimir Putin mocking?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, this is part of the deterioration of this relationship with Putin. Obama came in thinking that there would be a reset with Russia, with the, kind of global community. In general, this is a reminder of how often foreign affairs can shape and reshape presidencies. Obama going forward next week is traveling to Asia, and he wanted very much to pivot to his to the country's relationship with Asia, and that looks like it's going to be impacted by what's going on in Russia because there's so much attention that has to go there.
An excellent point. The distraction of this crisis as well as the enormous day-to-day dealings of this crisis.